warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, my friend Nur Izzati binti Omar and I, Anis Najihah binti Muhammad Jamal Nasir, we will present about Al-Kindi, freedom and immorality. So this is the table of contents. The first one is Al-Kindi, background and contribution. Second, influences of Al-Kindi. And the last one is ethics, freedom and immorality. Now I will pass the first topic to my friend Izzati.
Assalamualaikum. I will proceed the presentation with the backgrounds and contribution of Al-Kindi. Next slide. Okay, we will start the presentation with the biography of Al-Kindi. Abu Yusuf Yaqub Ibnu Ishaq As-Sabah Al-Kindi was his full name. He was born in Basra in 800, around 809 current era. He died in 873 current era, around 72 years old. He was 72 years old when he died. He was known as the father of Arab philosophy. This is because he was the first of the Islamic nomadic philosopher at Arab. He also prominent figure of House of Wisdom. House of Wisdom is the place where they put the scientific, like they put the research there, scientific research. He also mastered the philosophy and Plato philosophy. According to Al-Kindi, philosophy was the establishment of what is true and what is right. Next slide, please. So this is his contributions. He was served as a tutor to the son of Al-Mu'tasim. Al-Mu'tasim is one of the king, I suppose, that who is in power at that time. He also is in power at the House of Wisdom. Who is in charge there. Okay, proceed to the next point. Al-Kindi also was the first physician who systematically determined the dosage for most drugs. He also provided the foundation for modern arithmetic. Arithmetic is like mathematical, like branch of mathematics. Arithmetic is more into mathematics. And he contribute in the field of chemistry. Al-Kindi also do some research and make a philosophy about music. Al-Kindi have wrote more than 240 books. The books is in a lot of field, which is in mathematics, in astrology, and more. Next slide. So I pass the presentation to the next presenter, Anis Najihah. Thank you.
And now I will present about the second topic, the influences on Al-Kindi. The first one is about the Greek influences. As one would expect given his prominent role in the translation movement, Al-Kindi works are covered with ideas from Greek thought. His philosophical works are in-depth in part to the mathematical and scientific authors translated by his date. For instance, Nicomachus of Grasa and Euclid influenced his methodology as well as his mathematics. But the most important influence on his philosophy was from Aristotle, whose Corpus Archindis surveys in a thesis called On the Quantity of Aristotle's Book. This work provides a very true overview of Aristotle's corpus, though Archimedes clearly has not read some of the theses he discussed. When Archimedes comes to mention the contents of the metaphysics, he gives the following rather surprising summary, which is his purpose in his book called Metaphysics is to explain things that subsist without matter, and so they may exist together with what does matter, either connected or united to a matter, to affirm the oneness of God, the great and asserted, to explain his beautiful names, and that he is the agent cause of the universe, which perfects all things, the God of the universe who governs through his perfect providence and complete wisdom. While this may not look like an accurate description of Aristotle's metaphysics, it is a wholly accurate description of Archimedes' own conception of the science of metaphysics. That he conflates metaphysics with theology is clear from the opening on first philosophy, which says that since philosophy in general is the study of truth, first philosophy is the knowledge of the first truth, who is the cause of all truth. And indeed, Aristotle's metaphysics is a major influence on this work. However, as is typical of Archimedes' philosophical writings, on first philosophy also makes extensive use of ideas from translation of Platonic writings. The proof for the existence of a true one is based in part of Proclus, and one can detect influences from the Arabic version of Plotinus produced in Al-Kindi Circle, the so-called theory of Aristotle. Perhaps the most important single influence, however, is an attack on Aristotle by Neoplatonist Christian thinker John Philoponus over the issue of the world's eternity. On first philosophy, then is a particularly good example of how Archimedes combines Neoplatonic and Aristotelian ideas in his vision of a coherent philosophy derived from the Greeks. The way for this hypnotic conception of the Greek inheritance had actually been prepared by the Neoplatonists themselves, whose commentaries on Aristotle presage the harmonizing tendencies obvious in Archimedes. But as a promoter of Greek wisdom, Archimedes would in any case have been eager to emphasize any tensions between Greek philosophers or any failings on the part of Greek thinkers. For example, he gives no sign that his position on the eternity of the world departs from that of Aristotle. Although Archimedes was unyielding in his support for the ideas disseminated in the translation project, he was naturally influenced by the intellectual currents of his day. This comes out most clearly when Archimedes uses Greek ideas to engage with the problem of his time, especially in the arena of theology. Next, I will talk about the contemporary influences. For this, two examples of this engagement to be discussed in more detail in the next section are Archimedes' treatment of divine attributes and his views on creation. As we will see, Archimedes held an austere view on the question of attributes on the basis that prediction invariably implies multiplicity, whereas God is unrestrictedly one. This one has been compared to the position of the Mu'tazilites, who were the main contemporary theologians of the 9th century. Mu'tazilites Mu'tazilic influence may also be present in Al-Kindi's theory that creation is bringing to be of being from non-being, and especially in his denial that creation can be eternal. Al-Kindi uses philosophy to defend and explicate Islam in several works. He wrote a short essay attacking the Christian doctrine of the Trinity using concepts drawn from the exegesis of four theory. Next slide. While this is the only essence work that engaged in theological controversy, we know from the preface that he wrote other theses on similar themes. The extant corpus also contains passages in which Al-Kindi expounds the meaning of passages from the Quran. Most striking, perhaps, is his discussion of creation ex nihilo in the midst of on the quantity of Aristotle's book. This passage is a commentary on Quran 36, Surah Yasin, ayat 79 until 82. Al-Kindi also mentions the same Quranic passage and discusses the special nature of property knowledge in a meteorological work entitled On Why the Higher Atmosphere is Cold. The cosmological work on the prostration of the outermost sphere, meanwhile, is entirely devoted to explaining the Quranic verse, the stars and the trees prostrate themselves. In terms of Al-Kindi's account of heavenly influence on the sublunary world. Al-Kindi remarks here show his interest in the contemporary disciplines of grammar and Quranic explanations. A desire to integrate Greek ideas into his own culture is shown in a different way by own definitions, a list of technical philosophical terms with definitions. This work is ascribed to Al-Kindi, and though its authenticity has been doubted, it is almost certainly at least a production of Al-Kindi's circle. Most of the defined terms correspond to Greek technical terms and thus build up an Arabic philosophical terminology which is intended to be equivalent to that of the Greeks. It is striking that solely in the Arabic philosophical tradition, there was already a perceived need for a novel technical language for communicating philosophical ideas in a different setting, and of course for translating Greek into Arabic. Some, though certainly not all, of the terms listed on definitions will indeed become standard in the later philosophical tradition. That's all for me. I pass to my friend.
Thank you, Sister Anis Naziha. Now I will proceed to the third part of the presentation, which is ethics, freedom and immorality. Next slide, please. So, freedom and immorality. Al-Kindi's metaphysics. As we know, Aristotle is one of the philosophers that influenced Al-Kindi. However, there is some part that Aristotle claimed that the universe is not eternal and said that everything that comes into existence was a substratum. Al-Kindi was not quite agree with it and said that it must be a reason that the universe was formed, which is one of the cause is by the one who's meant by like God, I suppose. So he was inspired by the Neoplatonism philosophy. It was believed that all of the reality, like the planets, animal, tree, people, and the universe, were formed from this one entity. Back to the topic is the one. So you need to to be the god. According to Arkindi, an actual infinity could not exist as an object, and it merely exists in our mind. So the one need to be eternal, simple, necessary, and uncaused, because uh, the one if like the universe could be disappeared anytime soon, I don't know. But uh, the one need to to stay there. I mean, you know what I mean. Next slide. So the next point that I will point out is Arkindi, the soul. The soul play the central topic within the scripture of the religion of Islam, the Quran and the traditions. Al-Kindi viewed the soul as an entity which not only gave life to our corporeal being, but also held the innate, rational, repetitive, and passionate faculties. The soul is the inner aspects of the human being that lets us think that and consider, as well as giving us the need to eat, drink, continue survival of our species. So, according to Al-Kindi, the soul that becomes slave to its passion and appetites is similar to a pig having life engaged in a physical pleasure. While the soul that conquers its rational capability is as good as the king who all of his who knows. I'm sorry, there must be a mistaken there. I didn't put no. I mean, as a good as the king who knows all of his subjects. So, uh, the point here, I need to point out that um, freedom and immorality is more to the soul have the choice to do the right and the wrong. But if it went wrong, it can be something that is immoral. So I will pass. That's all for me. So I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Izati. And this is a quote from Al-Kindi. The lesson to draw may not be that we should avoid forming attachment entirely, but that we should do so sparingly and only for good reason. So, in conclusion, Al-Kindi will emphasize the division of the soul from the body, and that he sees our true self or essence as the only part of us which survives the death of the body. As by their nature, worldly goods are vulnerable and transitory. Therefore, we need to attach ourselves to things that are more enduring and stable, or in other words, things that cannot be taken from us. Knowing this, we have more practical remedy to look upon, and it is easier for us to accept and live in accordance with this conclusion, as we have freedom of our soul, and knowing that we have less attachment or more freedom from these worldly goods, it allows us to show more gratitude and happiness to the things that we encounter every day. Well, that's all from us. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions? Or certain part that is unclear, we will try our best to answer it. That's all.
Thank you.